Hey, sexy people. Today I want to start with the question, how many of us are trying to build intimacy using tools that were designed for survival? Because if you grew up Black in America or in any system shaped by slavery, racism, and respectability politics, you didn't just inherit family traditions, you inherited a communication style, a nervous system, if you will, a set of rules about what you're allowed to say, feel, want, and admit. Before we go further, hi, I'm Taylor K. Sparks, your ethical non-monogamy coach, sex goddess, and founder of organicloving.com. And I support people in creating ethical non-monogamous relationships with clear agreements, better sex, and emotional security. So sometimes the most expensive thing that we pass down in Black love is silence. Not because we don't care. Silence because historically, speaking too freely could cost you your safety, your dignity, or your life. Many of us inherited survival communication, not intimacy communication. And that difference is showing up in our relationships right now. Where the silence come from? Well, to understand Black intimacy today, we have to tell the truth about where our story started. Not to get stuck in pain, but to finally stop blaming ourselves for patterns we didn't create. So during slavery, Black bodies were not private. They were regulated, punished, consumed, and traded. And out of that reality came sexual stereotypes that still hang over Black men and women like a shadow. Black women were labeled Jezebels, hypersexual, insatiable, asking for it. Mammies, desexualized, nurturing, safe. Breeders, bodies without consent, without choice. Black men were labeled brutes, predators, threats, too strong, too sexual, too dangerous to be fully human in the white imagination. These weren't just insults. They were justifications for control, violence, and ownership. And when your body is treated like public property for generations, it changes how you relate to desire. It changes how you speak about sex, how you set boundaries, how you ask for what you want. Sometimes it changes whether you believe you're allowed to want anything at all. So how did protection become shame? Now imagine a Black mother trying to protect her daughter in that world during the age of slavery. She knew the danger wasn't hypothetical. It was the overseer, the master, the white boys, the men who could take what they wanted and then blame the girl. So protection didn't look like pleasure education. It looked like shame as armor. Don't act fast. Don't dress like that. Close your legs. Don't smile too much. Don't be so friendly. Not because that mother believed her daughter was bad, but because she believed the world was. Sometimes protection meant teaching a girl to become useful, to cook, to clean, to keep things perfect, because usefulness could mean the difference between being kept or being sold. And sometimes protection meant something even more painful, right? So in some families, girls were encouraged to become heavier, overfed, not because they were unloved, but because invisibility felt safer. Because in a racist society, a fuller Black female body could be interpreted as less tempting to white men, less threatening to white women, less likely to become the center of someone's violent desire. And this is not ancient history. Those are survival strategies, and survival strategies don't just vanish because the calendar changes. Then there is survival training of our Black men. Black boys were taught their own version, right? Learn a trade, don't talk back, don't take up too much space, make yourself smaller. Not because you are small, but because Black bigness and presence, voice, confidence was punished. So Black masculinity learned stoicism instead of vulnerability, control instead of curiosity, silence instead of emotional fluency, handle it instead of heal it. So when a Black man struggles to talk about fear, tenderness, or desire, that is not automatically emotional immaturity. Often it is training. And here's a quick word about this training in epigenetics. When I say inherited, I don't mean culturally. There's a field of study called epigenetics, and here kind of is the simplest version of it. Think of your DNA as the blueprint, and epigenetics is the set of switches that influence which genes get turned up or down, on or off. Those switches can be shaped by environment, stress, safety, nourishment, trauma, without changing the DNA code itself. Now, the science is still evolving on exactly how much of those changes carry across generations in human. I know in mice it's crossed 7 generations. But we do know this for sure. Chronic stress leaves signatures in the body, and families can pass down patterns that look like personality when they're really protection. So yes, some of what we call overreacting is the body saying, I remember what danger feels like, even when your mind is saying, nothing's happening. Respectability politics is the modern translation of survival, and this is where it enters the story. Respectability politics is the unspoken rule that says if you behave correctly, if you speak softly enough, dress properly enough, stay composed enough, you can earn safety and respect. We saw that recently in the uproar over Pastor Jamal Bryant's wife's gown. Respectability politics taught Black women, don't be too sexual, don't be too loud, don't be too much. It taught Black men, don't be too big, don't be too angry, don't be too direct. Respectability is a survival script, but inside of our relationships, it becomes emotional censorship. Because if you are always managing how you appear, you are not practicing how to tell the truth. And intimacy cannot grow where the priority is performance. So I want you to understand survival communication versus intimacy communication. So here's the core reframe. Survival communication asks, how do I stay safe? How do I avoid punishment? How do I not draw attention? How do I keep the peace? Intimacy communication asks, what do I feel? What do I want? What do I need? Can I be seen and still be safe? Many of us were never taught the second language. We were taught silence instead of curiosity, avoidance instead of repair, toughness instead of tenderness, control instead of connection. And then we wonder why love feels so hard for some of us. So how does this show up in Black relationships today? It shows up when we can't name desire without embarrassment. When we feel deeply and then punish ourselves for these feelings. When we don't say what hurt us and then explode later over something small because it was never small. It shows up as jealousy that feels like panic, conflict that escalates quickly, shutdown that feels like I'm fine, but really I don't feel safe. Sex that carries expectation but not communication. Partners who love each other but don't know how to repair. We say things like, if I have to say it, it doesn't count. If I have to ask for reassurance, then I'm weak. If I have to tell the truth, I'll lose control. But what's underneath is often this. If I tell the truth, I might not be safe. You do know that your nervous system is not a character flaw, right? This isn't just emotional, it's physiological. When the nervous system has learned that speaking leads to danger, visibility leads to harm, desire leads to punishment, it will choose silence every time. That's why the goal isn't just to communicate better, like it's a personality upgrade. The goal is nervous system safety, because intimacy cannot exist where the body feels under threat. And there is a cost to silence. Silence may have saved our ancestors' lives, but today it's costing us connection. It costs us emotional safety, honest sex, repair after conflict, secure attachment, the ability to receive love without bracing for impact. Silence protected us then, but it's suffocating us now. And the most heartbreaking part is this. We often treat the person we love like they are the danger, when the real danger is the old fear living inside of our bodies. So let's focus on what healing actually requires. Healing doesn't start with blame. It starts with naming. Naming inherited survival scripts, learned shame, respectability performance, nervous system threat responses, right? The stories that we're telling ourselves when we're afraid. When we name it, when we stop personalizing it, we stop saying, I'm broken, and we start saying, I was trained for survival, not intimacy. And anything learned can be relearned. So here are 3 takeaways that we can do starting today. If you remember nothing else, remember these 3. 1, naming what's happened. Not you're doing that thing again, but my body is in a threat right now. Naming reduces shame, and shame is gasoline. 2, build nervous system safety before you try to solve. If someone is in fight, flight, or freeze, logic won't land right. Regulation comes first. Breathe, tone, pacing, touch, only if it's welcome. Safety first, solution second. And 3rd, learn repair as a relationship skill, not a moral test. Many of us were taught if you argue, relationship is failing. No, conflict is normal, right? It's not negative or positive. The skill is repair, apologizing without collapsing, listening without defending, rebuilding without keeping score. And here's the part we don't talk about enough. We need community scripts, shared language that makes intimacy normal for us. Because when a whole culture has been trained into silence, individual healing needs collective support. And finally, the cost of silence in Black love has been high. But the future doesn't have to inherit the same burden. We can honor the survival of our ancestors without repeating their silence. We can stop passing down fear as tradition. We can choose intimacy without betraying our history, because Black love was never meant to be quiet. And as always, and I've said it before, I'm not here to make your choices for you. I'm here to support you in understanding them and in creating relationships that are as expansive and as authentic as you are. And if this hit home for you, here's your next step. Book your free 20-minute clarity call at organicloving.com/coaching, and we can walk through this privately and together. And until next time, your love, your rules, and your freedom. Bye-bye.